Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. I know what day it is without looking down at my screen. It's 420 Day, otherwise known as Doge Day, or the day that Doge didn't happen. It's April 20th, folks. Thanks for joining us. Excited to be here, and it is the day that Doge has. I thought it was going to get pumped up to $1. That's what everybody was talking about, social media. I don't know. It seems like the dog is a little tired and taking a nap. We're going to run through the big boards. We're going to check out the coin screener page, see what sentiment is showing on a few of these cryptos, and take a look at the charts. And then, of course, Ryan, best hair in crypto, Gorman, is going to take us to some interesting news that has happened today, which I'm sure you all heard about, but we're going to dive into it anyway. But please join us, CJ from marketrebellions.com, along with his colleague Monty, as we go into today's episode. Ryan, all yours, my man.
Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for educational and informational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and it should not be construed as such. Do not listen to my paper hands. Trade the Chain is brought to you by TradeTheChain.com, a global 24/7 community of traders across 23 time zones. If only there were people in the 24th one, we'd have them too. These are traders of all ages, all skill levels, all knowledge gaps, or rather bases, all backgrounds, and all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market. If you want to trade like a crypto insider and you're not yet a member of Trade the Chain, check out TradeTheChain.com.
Don't forget, risk-free, because you got that 14-day trial. And moving over to marketrebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get exclusive trade ideas, entries, exits, stop losses, access to our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, a trading education curriculum, and an elite community of traders throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. And you can start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. We're also going to be dropping some new courses in our education curriculum, our trading education curriculum specifically. I'm trying to get an oscillators course out within the next 2 months, or next month, I should say. And we've got some other stuff in the pipeline that I think you guys will really enjoy as well. But folks, before we get to the big boards, anything you'd like to bring to the audience's attention?
Not really. With the exception that this might be the last day of the crypto sale. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I have a hunch it might be. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm just trying to be very upbeat and happy, folks. People calling us, we're grumpy looking in the comments. Let's be happy.
Well, yesterday we did ask. We said, are you guys bullish? Are you bearish? Leave the comments below. And I was sifting through the comments this morning. I saw more bullish comments than bearish comments. So if that's any indication of sentiment, I think we might be approaching the bottom here.
All right, cool.
I'm bullish on Monty's fade. It's tight.
YouTube comment section, the best indicator we have available to us. Always accurate, always intelligent.
I take all my cues from the comments, always.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about the actual comments, but in the live chat when we were premiering it, it was pretty bullish as well. So Trade the Chain is probably the smart money, or hopefully we assume. But moving on to the Bitcoin analysis, couple things we want to break down here today. First is just basic TA. I've got some oscillators added to the bottom of the chart. First is the CCI, the Commodity Channel Index, as well as the fast stochastic. And so this is pretty simple. We're just watching the overbought or oversold levels. And as you can see on both of the oscillators, we are really nearing oversold or already in oversold territory as we reach critical support at these candlesticks. One thing that I do like from the bullish perspective, and one thing that I think inclines me to believe that the sell pressure is almost done, is the fact that we're having really low volume mixed with kind of two doji candles. I mean, this one was a spinning top, this red 3, and then the following red 4 is almost, it's almost turning into a bullish hammer candle. So everything is really signaling to us that we're just oversold here. We talk about how all of the liquidations occurred and flushed out those bad longs, yesterday. So I feel as if the sell pressure should be eradicated in the short term. The only thing that kind of concerns me on the weekly chart that I will be watching continuously is this crossover, or I should say potential crossover on the MACD. Because if we look historically, each time we've had a massive intersection like this, price has typically come down quite a bit. Like we had one at 20K where price went through that bearish cross, and then at 14K as well, we had that bearish cross. Now we're in an instance where we're so above our previous levels that it's kind of just showing me a warning signal from the macro time frame. Next thing I want to talk about is more of the fundamentals and lay out exactly where we are in terms of this market cycle. But actually, first, I want to highlight something that we saw from Whale Map. Great Twitter account, great service. Definitely recommend. But this gives us a pretty good picture of where the whales got in. We had a lot of buying at 51K, especially with whales on Coinbase Spot. But you can see, these are all of the critical levels that we're looking at in this range. And I think Bitcoin's just going to be range bound for the next couple of days until these buyers really have the courage to step in. I just don't think, we haven't seen it yet. We really haven't seen it. But I just don't see us going below 51 at this current point. May be wrong, but judging about how we've seen dips in the previous instances in this market cycle, they've been bought up relentlessly by the whales. Wouldn't be surprised if Michael Saylor comes out in a week and says, "Oh, we took out loans to buy more Bitcoin." This is another chart I really like. This is the HODL wave by Glassnode, but you can see here we got it by Whale Maps as well. And essentially the chart below shows how much of the realized cap belongs to different types of hodlers. And when short-term holders FOMO into the market, the red spectrum of the wave goes up. And so if I go to a little bit larger image, you can see that we are currently at this black circle highlighted right here. And as you can see, after hitting that level, price still went up and rallied 1,000% from that level at around, it looks like $200, just a rough estimate. But that's pretty promising, as well as a lot of other macro models for the macro trend. So despite the bearish price action as of late, my gut just tells me that this bull market is not over yet.
Yeah, CJ, I would definitely agree with you. We have talked a lot about how we're kind of only in, the sixth or maybe fifth inning of this game. And, that's supported by macro models, like you said, like the stock to flow. But I just want to quickly reiterate one point you made. A lot of questions that I've been seeing, in the community on Twitter are, are we going to continue moving downward, or is, this the bottom? And I think you make a great point talking about the whale support at 51K. But one thing that, I really agree that is very encouraging is the decline in volume we've seen, as we've kind of approached this level. So if you look at the 4-hour chart, you can see in the last 8 hours, we've seen very, very little volume, probably the least amount of volume we've seen in a few months. So to me, that's an indication, that there's just less sell pressure here at 55K. And, although there's not too much buy pressure right now, I think that's natural following that sort of steep decline. We're still overbought on many metrics. So I totally agree with CJ that we're kind of going to be somewhat range bound for the next, maybe week or two. I think until we get an influx of new volume, maybe on the back of some news related event, that might be something that could trigger us to the upside. But I think, a realistic range going forward over the next couple of weeks would be something like, in this range here between 51 and 61. And we've seen Bitcoin trade range bound before. And that doesn't mean there's no opportunities, right? Think about that. That's a big difference between the bottom of this channel and top of this channel. So even when Bitcoin's range bound, there's still good opportunities to trade this. I do think we could possibly retest 51K before, moving to the upside. But, due to the lack of volume and just kind of the lack of buy pressure right now, I think we're destined for a bit of sideways trading for, at least a week or two.
I want to bring up, sorry, Ryan, I want to bring
That's
up
fine.
one more thing to the analysis before I pass it off to you guys. I apologize.
worries.
But, we trade this with a bullish bias because it is a bull market. But one exercise I just want to give you guys a glimpse of is looking at this stuff from the inverted perspective. So if we change it to an inverted scale, if we were in a bear market, this still looks very bearish. Like the bulls are just, in this instance, they wouldn't be gaining momentum. And I think this just gives us a little bit more objective perspective than just wishing price would go up always. The next thing I want to talk about is trade the chain dashboard. So if we go and check a look at this, we're still bearish in the short-term timeframes, but we're still long-term bullish. I think that sentiment based on those macro models is still retained by the majority of the market participants. But Alex, anything you want to share about the sentiment here?
Ryan, did you have something to say going into this?
Yeah, it is somewhat sentiment related, because when you're looking at options skew right now, the put call skew, is outstripping that for, bullish bets by quite a large margin. And there are a lot of institutions buying puts at $52,000 strikes, for this Friday's expiry. And, that to me says that they're still expecting significant amount of downward pressure, at least through the end of this week, before we perhaps start to recover and resume this, bull run. Historically, looking at options positioning has been at least a somewhat reliable indicator of which way the markets tend to go. And if we start to look further out, I don't have data for further out, but if we start to look further out and see where options positioning is through the end of the month, we might get a better sense for where at least the smart money thinks Bitcoin and perhaps the rest of the market is headed.
CJ, go back into the screener page. Let's take a look at some coins, what's happening with them today.
Yeah, and just one thing I want to say to Ryan's point about the options open interest at 52K. What we deal with a lot in options in the market rebellion, unusual option activity community is understanding the motive behind a lot of those buyers or sellers of unusual options. And I think that a lot of those are likely hedge plays. Options were created to remove risk. That people, it's kind of ironic. People think options are the most risky tactic. They can be if they're not used properly, but used properly, they're actually a very safe hedging tool and way to kind of protect yourself. Sorry, Alex, go ahead here.
No, go ahead. Thanks for explaining that to the folks. Yeah, let's take a look at let's say the top 20, top 30 here, and pick like two of them, one or two of them for you and Monty to dig deep into the chart, see what's happening off the sentiment. Like there's good old Polkadot. I mean, Dogecoin.
I have an example. This morning, I always check trade the chain before I buy something, because I kind of want to see what the sentiment's looking like. Yes, and that is the one I want to talk about, because we're quick to brag about our winners and we're quick to brag about the times we were right, but I'm going to tell you about a time I was wrong, and that was just this morning. So I looked at the coin screener page and I saw that CeeLo, its trading volume was up like 130%. And, I didn't hear any news about it yet. I hadn't heard anything. And, this moved price from, I think it was up. So the trading volume was up 130%. Price went from, $4.10 to $4.40. And I'm like, okay, that move is done. 160% trading volume was up towards the top of the coin screener. Well, sure enough, literally 10 minutes later, news comes out that Deutsche Telekom has invested in CeeLo and sees it as a valid DeFi play. And then the trade volume continued to spike, went up 690%. This thing ran all the way up to 546 and it's still running. So, it's just, I was so frustrated with myself because, I kind of assumed the move had already happened, but it still is showing such tremendous strength. And it was I thought it was really interesting how the trade volume spiked before the news even came out. I thought that was pretty interesting and kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, you could just, I mean, look at for the hour, we have so much stuff that is just neutral and bearish for the hour. It looks pretty neutral, I guess, the majority of it. Um, I mean, how about Doge? Give me, guys, let's talk about Doge. Today's supposed to be Doge Day, all right? What do we got going on with Doge?
So when all people on TikTok or social media tell you to buy Doge on 420, that means everybody's loading up on 419. I mean, come on. That's what I would be doing at least. And I would be trying to sell on 420. I mean, do you guys are you in that boat?
No, I don't fall. I don't fall for those memes.
Well,
Not
I'm
at
not
all.
saying fall for it, but like you get the point I'm trying to make, right?
Yeah, it's just, listen, it's pump and dump. It's playing off people trying to get the price as high as they can and not paint the top. So I'm not interested in playing that game.
Well, I think Ryan was saying before we started the show that Doge is a better investment than Bitcoin.
Well, Ryan,
Yeah,
did you say that?
No, I didn't say that. Joe Weisenthal at Bloomberg said it. And, he did some comparison, Doge BTC pair. And, he in his morning research note today, he said that Dogecoin has been a better investment than Bitcoin for its entire existence, right? And basically, Dogecoin is like Bitcoin, but stripped of all the virtue signaling. Because you're either with Bitcoin or you're against it for so many of these maxis. Whereas with Dogecoin, it's just like, all right, I have some Doge. And no one really cares and they ridicule you, but you're outperforming Bitcoin every month. And, I love Joe and he has some really offbeat takes in the markets, but, this is, he's not wrong about this. He says it's just a fact that at any time over the last 7 years, buying Dogecoin was the better move than buying Bitcoin. And when you look at the two compared against each other and the performance of Dogecoin against Bitcoin, chart doesn't lie. So, I mean, obviously there's nothing really behind Doge other than TikTok kids and Elon Musk pump tweets and Snickers for some reason. But, ultimately, if you're going to say something's uncorrelated, it's decentralized, it's not subject to central bank policies, it's at the whim of the market, Dogecoin actually fits that description better than Bitcoin in many ways. He's not wrong. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. Nope, I haven't changed my mind. But he isn't wrong.
What happened to Doge being like your entire DART portfolio? Did that come to fruition, Ryan?
It did, and I sold off my Doge allocation with 12% gains, which during that time it outperformed Bitcoin. So,
All right, last piece of news before we go. Ryan, what do you have for us? Let's talk about this Venmo thing. Let's talk about the impact that it's going to have to the retail market, because we did this, I forget how many months ago, when PayPal unleashed their powers of crypto and stuff like that. Now we have Venmo. You can get on Revolut. You have all these platforms. Coinbase went IPOing and everything else. Is this going to make noise? Is this going to widen the adoption, or is this just another player entering and there's enough now, or what?
So the thing with Venmo, right? They announced that they're going to enable people to send crypto to each other, which makes sense. I mean, back when PayPal first made that announcement, I wasn't the only one who said this, but I was one of the people who said this. It's only a matter of time until Venmo does the same thing, because it's more immediate. It's owned by PayPal. And if you can put the rails in place for one of your products, it can't be that hard to put them in place for another one, right? And at this point, I don't think the market really cares. Bitcoin didn't jump up in response to it. I mean, it's been mostly flat today. I think the most important part of that whole announcement is not that Venmo is enabling people to send crypto to each other in the next couple months. It's that the company is going to hold crypto on its balance sheet, and it won't just be limited to Bitcoin, right? So that's just yet another company that's holding crypto on their balance sheet and allocating to it in their treasury as a hedge against inflation, against central bank monetary policy. PayPal's doing it, Tesla's doing it, a number, MicroStrategy, of course, everyone knows about, Riot Blockchain. But you have all of these companies now that are starting to allocate to crypto on their corporate balance sheet. And we're maybe starting to see the tide change in the way Michael Saylor was saying it eventually would. I don't think anyone's going to jump the shark the way MicroStrategy has and start issuing debt to buy Bitcoin in mass quantities like they have. But, you know, there's going to be a time, probably in the not too distant future, where more public companies hold crypto on their balance sheet than don't. Strictly as, even if it's a 1% allocation, just strictly as a way to earn more interest than having it sit in a brick and mortar bank where it earns zero. You know? So I think that to me was the most important or most compelling part of that announcement. Not necessarily you can send crypto to people.
Okay. CJ Monty, what do you think? Impactful, not impactful? Does it make a difference?
I think it's big news. I mean, Venmo has, I think, like 70 million customers, and it's big. It's huge amongst people under 30. It's a demographic that's primed for crypto adoption. I didn't mean to target you there, Alex. I'm not even sure that you're over 30. You could be 28 for all I know. But the way I see it is like this does put pressure on companies like Apple and Google to start looking into doing something similar, because Venmo is huge. It's very popular, and I think for a while Google Pay and Apple Pay have been trying to kind of take some of that market share away from them. So if anything, I think it's pushing that whole payment sector in the right direction. And Venmo's a big one. So I do think that eventually there's a strong likelihood that competitors like Apple and Google follow suit.
I think the greatest takeaway from this, and by the way, kind of unusual, Ryan's not using his metal straw today. That kind of threw me off a little bit.
What?
Nevertheless,
no metal, no straw.
I think the most significant takeaway from an investor perspective is that Venmo is going to support Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. It'll probably add others in the future, but people will say, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash is a shitcoin. But if they're still being listed by things like PayPal or Venmo, retail is still going to be attractive to them, because when they first come into the space, that's really all we know. I mean, we all came into the space and were beginners initially. And I think that perspective and that support for those coins is going to be interesting and definitely will play a role in their performance throughout the course of this market cycle.
Let me ask you this. What do you think is more impactful? People being able to send Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin? Why Litecoin? Why always Litecoin? Being able to send it to each other, or PayPal enabling people to pay for things at the point of sale with all the merchants that support PayPal in crypto?
Hold on a second. That's a great question, Ryan, right? Because as I was sitting here listening to everybody give their views, I was thinking about it. Like, for instance, when I'm flying back and forth between London, I use Revolut, right? Revolut has crypto. And I was just thinking about how I actually send other Revolut people money. But then I was realizing I can't send other Revolut holders crypto. I have to sell the crypto, convert it to whatever currency I want, and then send it. So I don't know if that's what you were getting at, Ryan, but that would be huge. Where like, hey, Ryan, thanks for spending. Can I send you $5 in BCH or something like that, rather than dollars, where you get to pay people with the crypto?
I think that's part of what I was getting at, right? Because there are two sides of it. That's why I asked. But I think ultimately the major knock against crypto is, can you buy a cup of coffee? Can you pay for a train ticket? Can you pay your taxes? Can you do all these things? And now you can with PayPal, right? Whether or not you do it is irrelevant. That doesn't matter. The fact that you can do it and it now is able to be transactional, I think, in the long run, not in the short term, but in the long run, it means that one of these cryptocurrencies, probably not Bitcoin just due to capacity restraints, but one of these cryptocurrencies or tokens is going to become the transactional crypto of choice. And it's interesting to see if that one, sorry, Alex, but it's interesting to see if that one eventually usurps Bitcoin, because people start buying and holding more of it because they can use it like cash.
What about Lightning?
Well, hold on a second. Just real quickly on the payment thing. See, this is where I'm getting at. So like PayPal, you can accept crypto in PayPal, okay? but I'm talking about spending it. I'm talking about taking Venmo and being like, I want to pay, or Apple Pay. I want to hold my Apple Pay phone up that has, $20
Yeah.
in Bitcoin and pay for my $5 thing at Starbucks. You can't do that.
With PayPal, you can this year. You will be able to.
You'll be able to, but you can't yet. And
That's
I
the
think
question
that's
I was
what,
asking, right? That's the
I
question
think-
I was asking. Would that be more impactful long term than just being able to zip each other crypto?
hell yeah. I think that's where the catalyst is with
Yeah.
all these payment processors.
Yeah, even if people don't spend it, like you said, Ryan, because they can, that's huge. Because that's been the big knock on Bitcoin for the longest time, is that it has no true utility. It's just a store of value. You can't exchange it, but now you can.
I still think that's like, I don't know where this came from, but payments are not the value of Bitcoin. The value of Bitcoin comes from its scarcity, very similar to a stock. Does it matter that we can't pay for things in Tesla stock or we can't pay for things in gold? Obviously, Bitcoin's intended to be a payment network, but I see it more has evolved into a store of value, especially after the block size debate and all of that stuff. We're getting very philosophical here. But
I get you.
I completely agree with you on that. I
Yeah.
don't think Bitcoin is going to be ultimately the highest market cap crypto because it can't be spent, right? Just like cash, it took a while, but cash eventually usurped gold, right? There's going to be a crypto that eventually usurps digital gold. It's
Well-
just the natural evolution of things. I'm just wondering what one that is.
Well,
Maybe
hold
it's
on a
X,
second.
Maybe it's Cardano, maybe it's ETH. I
Don't-
mean,
don't
maybe it's
stop.
Doge. Maybe Dogecoin becomes that transactional currency because it really is untethered to anything. Who knows? Probably not. But like something has to rise to the top.
I can't talk about this anymore. This has gotten out of hand.
I think the Bitcoin maximalist argument would be Lightning Network will satisfy those conditions as long as we have the opportunity to use the base layer for important transactions. We'll still have that option. But if we can use a payment layer on top of the Bitcoin network, then that should accommodate for spending, right?
We're now talking about like three different things. Okay, I get every single thing that everybody's now gone on a tangent about. Okay, whether it's Lightning Network for Bitcoin transactions or whether it's Ryan saying, hey, nobody's going to spend Bitcoin because it's not a payment thing, it's a store of value thing. But those are all totally different things. Let's just focus on an example. Let's take Bitcoin Cash. Everybody loves BCH.
Can't even say with a straight face.
But let's take Bitcoin Cash, right? And pretend that that's the payment crypto. Now, what you're talking about, Ryan, is I think that if you take whatever the crypto payment method is, in this case it's BCH, and when those systems like Venmo let you use that to pay for things, that is the catalyst, right? Step one was, oh, they can accept it. Big whoopee at this point in time. Step two is going to be, can I spend it?
Well, here's the thing with Venmo, right? Because I use Venmo as my backup debit card when I travel. I have a Venmo debit card that's linked to my Venmo account. And if there's no cash in my Venmo account, it just draws money out of my checking account, right? What if we don't know the details around this yet, but if you could withdraw from your crypto balance on Venmo to pay for things, then I mean, that would basically be the same thing that PayPal's doing. I can't imagine that you wouldn't be able to do that in a period of time. But like, I mean, when you're looking at something that isn't Bitcoin for payments, right? You're able to put like automatic bill pay on smart contracts, rent, other bills that you have. Every time I lose my debit card or what have you, I lose it often. Ask my wife. I have to go back. Like sometimes the electricity gets shut off because I forget that I didn't set up the auto pay on the new card, or we don't have internet one day because I don't think about these things because I automate them for a reason. That's the whole point of having auto pay. And it takes it being turned off to realize that I didn't update my card. And if you had all of that on a smart contract, you wouldn't have to worry about losing your debit card and resetting the 10 different online bill pay scenarios that you have and relinking all the other things that you have on your debit card. It's just such a pain. And not having to do that anymore, I would welcome that in a minute. And I don't care what taxes I pay on the crypto to never have to do all of this again. I genuinely don't. Just get it out of my life.
Yeah, says the guy that's moving to Puerto Rico.
This guy.
If you folks, if you're still with us after that all started 15 minutes ago. Thank you very much. You can claim your prize on the way out the door.
Isn't it supposed to snow today in Chicago?
Yeah, it was snowing this morning a little bit. It's supposed to snow more tonight.
Ooh, ooh.
Hey, let us know. Let us know in the comments below if you think there's another currency or cryptocurrency that will overtake Bitcoin, like BCH.
Oh yeah.
I'd
In the
love
long
to.
run. In the long run, because I'm thinking just from a payments perspective, cash used to be on a gold standard, right? It used to be backed by gold or silver or whatever precious metal they used to back it, gold. And now cash is worth more than gold. Eventually, something has to usurp that. It's just the natural order of things. That doesn't mean I'm right, but that's how things have worked so far. And it's not too unreasonable to think that whatever crypto wins the payment battle overtakes Bitcoin just in terms of overall value, because more people will hold it.
Spoken like a true XRP bag holder, Ryan.
Yeah, you know,
Wow.
listen, I mean,
Wow. Never.
this has gotten way out of hand. This wasn't what I expected.
But what I love about YouTube is that there will be receipts, and if XRP does somehow come out on top, it'll be fun to go back and watch this video.
I just want to, you know, on that note, we're going to do a throwback Thursday at some point. Okay, because before we tape this, we watched our first episode of Trade the Chain some 130 something episodes ago, and it was really interesting to see. We had different hairdos back then. We looked like a 90s sitcom, and you know how like we've grown over the years of taping this thing. It was less than a year ago, but as we were going through the charting, the prices, we were salivating at the prices we were reporting on. I mean, we had $11,000 Bitcoin back then. We had 19-cent Voyager. What was ETH at again, Monty? You point out like $400.
Yeah, it's like $400 ETH.
Oh, I mean, Link was at $12 or something. It was beautiful. I wish I knew then. Now what I knew then. That's what the saying is. Because I would have bought everything we went over in big bag. I would have mortgaged a house, sold my wife and kids. Folks, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Don't forget, if you like us, even if you don't like us, just smash the like button. It helps us get through the day and sleep at night. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Check out marketrebellion.com/crypto and tradethechain.com. We will see you all tomorrow. And I'm thinking tomorrow might be Hedera H. I think tomorrow's going to be H-bar day. Folks, thank you very much. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.